Welcome to Skyler Jarvis Media.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Skyler Jarvis.
What's up, everybody? This is the Skyler Jarvis Show, and I'm your host, Skyler Jarvis. Today, we're going to be doing another boss rant. So, as I said before on these, it just depends on what my brain is going to cough up. So bear with me these first few episodes. And, first of all, I want to shout out some people at the Hillbilly Hemp Shop. Shout out to Ron, shout out to Kyle, shout out to their whole family. I got their shirt on now. So, shout out to the hemp shop. So, here in the past few weeks, we have talked about Eminem's new album, and I have done an episode on that before now, but I feel like I didn't really get all my thoughts across, and I've had more time to listen to it, and let's just say it's got a lot better, in my opinion. I mean, this really reminded me why we considered Eminem the bad guy of rap, He was the one that all the parents, he was one all parents feared, basically. And he was one of the main reasons I got into rap. And then I started getting into Lil Wayne and, that going down that rabbit hole. So, the album, for those of you who don't know, is The Death of Slim Shady Coup de Grace. It just came out last Friday. And a lot of people are saying that this is his best work in a good minute. So, I tend to agree. I mean, Kamikaze and Music to Be Murdered By were great projects for me. And, Revival, even though it doesn't have the same caliber, it definitely fell short, but it's got some good songs on it, I think. So, I mean, so many people just think Eminem has just had such a bad run here recently, and I tend to disagree because, those last two albums before this one really, they made an impression on me. We were still following Eminem, especially when Kamikaze came out. Man, I think that was a very special time in his career because that was when he was, Revival was him basically. It was more of an emotional, more reflective Eminem. And then, that album was, received very poor. And, he came back with Kamikaze, and everybody was like, whoa. I mean, jaws hit the floor. I mean, for those people who, actually sat and listened to the album and was paying attention to the bars and the caliber he was spitting at. Eminem's pretty much known for just very lyrical rap. And this was his return to form, and then Music to Be Murdered By pretty much, continued that. But it wasn't a straight up diss record either. So, I remember when Kill Shot came out. Machine Gun Kelly, they were going back and forth. Rap Devil came out. I mean, it was a decent song. But me and my buddy Matthew, shout out to Matthew, he does my intros. He would always annoy me by playing Rap Devil. And, it was just, we were high schoolers. We'd just go back and forth. And he'd take my phone in there, or he'd take his phone in my room and put Rap Devil on. and I would go to his room with my phone and put Kill Shot on mine. We just went back and forth like that, but it was it was a very friendly thing. It wasn't like he was just trying. I mean, he was trying to piss me off, but it was it was very friendly in that regard. But that was one of the more memorable points, when Kill Shot came out. Everybody was on the edge of their seats pretty much up until that record came out, because Kamikaze came out and he was dissing everybody. He was throwing shots at everybody, and Machine Gun Kelly, he finally responded to Machine Gun Kelly after all them years, and it just escalated from there. And then all that happened, and then Kill Shot. Up until that came out, we were all on the edge of our seats, like, what is Eminem gonna do? How is Eminem gonna respond to this? And he came back and blew our minds, man. So, yeah, I mean, that we were still staying in the block house at the time, and we would just. My friend Sean Tucker, he loves Eminem. Shout out to Sean Tucker. He would let me know anytime Eminem projects would drop. Like, he follows it even to this day. I seen a post on his Facebook that was, he had the Death of Slim Shady on there. And he keeps up with Eminem. And when Kamikaze dropped, it was a surprise release. So he basically just dropped it out of nowhere. And I didn't even know it. I didn't even know Eminem had put out an album until I got off the bus that evening. And Sean Tucker sent me this Spotify link, and he's like, Eminem just came out with a new album. I'm like, you're joking, right? He just put one out. And he was like, yeah. He sent me the link, and I looked it up, and I was like, bro. It just blew my mind. And that was when Eminem really returned from revival. That one. So, how me and Shazan, I will say, my taste for music ranges from rock, rap, country, ambient music. I was trying to think of the name of that. And Shazan, yeah, I mean, my mama helped, raise me in country, rock, a little bit of rap. But when I met Shazan, just the floodgates opened in terms of the music I was being exposed to. Like, I was getting exposed to stuff like Bjork and Daft Punk and Outkast. I already knew some of their songs, but he let me know, yeah, this is the album that was on. And I was getting into Five Finger Death Punch when I met him, and he hooked me on to the rest of their catalog. And it was a really eye-opening experience for me as a musician. Like, me and Shazan would always, in high school, whenever I started going to GMS full-time, we would always give each other music, and I'd be like, hey, this is something I grew up with, or this is something I just now heard. What do you think of it? And that that's how me and Shazan started following NF. And man, when we heard NF for the first time, we was like, man, this guy's rapping about serious subject matter, and he's not even cussing. He don't have to cuss to talk about this stuff, and it really resonated with me at the time. It helped me get back into rap because I kind of hit a point in my, like when I was 15, 16, where I didn't want to listen to rap because just for different reasons. And NF really helped reawaken me to like, hey, this is rap can also be something like this. And then I started listening to artists like Lecrae and Triple E, Tadashi, and then here more recently the Cross movement. Man, when I discovered the Cross movement, it was just I always wanted that boom bap feel with a Christian message, and the Cross movement was. You go back and listen to that Heaven's Mentality record, bro. That blew my mind when I heard it for the first time, and a lot of people. I tried to show it to my cousin Cadence one time, and I said, "This is the best Christian hip hop album that was ever made." And she looks at me and she goes, "Are you just saying that, or is that actually a fact?" I said, "That's just my opinion, but I mean, the reason I said that was because, in my personal opinion, like the hip hop me and Shazam listened to was late 90s, early 2000s hip hop. When hip hop was more than just getting on there, getting high on cough syrup or whatever these new rappers do now, and just mumbling. Me and Shazam started going down the rabbit hole of underground rap. We started listening to Vinnie Paz, R.A. the Rugged Man, Diabolic. We started listening to people like that, and Gangstar. That was a huge influence. DJ Premier is hands down one of my favorite rap producers ever. He's that good to me. We would listen to all kinds of stuff like that, and I always wanted a Christian rap album that sounded like that. That, gave me the same vibes as something like Gangstar would. Especially around the moment of truth. The owners, especially when Premier started getting more boom bap with the beats. I mean, even those early Gangstar records, man, they're good. They are so good, and then they, Premier was just at the top of his game. He still is. So, when I heard Heaven's Mentality for the first time, when I heard the Cross movement for the first time, and they had all these boom bap beats, these darker sounding boom bap beats, and I was like, man, they got 7 guys in there, and whenever I heard The Way off their second album, House of Representatives, whenever I heard The Way, the Truth, the Life, the Lord, the Way, the Truth, the Life, we know the way, we speak the truth, we live the life, 'cause he's the Lord. Whenever I heard that, I was just like, that's it. I'm backing these guys up. And then I dug deeper into their catalog and started listening to each one of their solo projects. The Ambassador, Christology. Man, that's a good album right there. Fanatics, The Incredible Walk is another one I remember very well. Chop Chop, The Ambassador, the Chop Chop, From Milk to Meat. That was a good project, man. I think that was one of the last records they made with the Cross Movement record label before it collapsed. And that was a good note, man. That was all of their work, man. The Truth. He has an album called The Faith. You go listen to that, man. That is, you want a Christian rapper that can touch on, a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world. Like, there's one song that talks about the Columbine shooters, and that, there were there was a pair of Christian girls that, the killers basically came up to, and they was like, "Do you believe in God?" And they said yes, and they were just shot on the spot. And it talks about stuff like that, would you die for the Christ? That's the price of the call. Would you die for Jesus like they did? And some of the messages in that album, bro. Some of the messages in that album, like a lot of people need to hear nowadays. Especially people that don't have the Christian faith. And we're supposed to not judge them, but we're supposed to, let them know when they're doing wrong, or, here, look, I know you might not believe in him, but, he did. I was at a certain point in my life, and then Jesus. That's every Christian story. As people, without Jesus, we can't do anything without Jesus. And that's the truth. Without Jesus in our lives, and not just, oh yeah, I know Jesus, I believe in Jesus. Even the demons know, and they tremble. So if they believe, then what are we? How different are we if we believe there is a God, but we don't know who He is? You see what I'm saying? And some of the messages on that album, it delves into a lot of that stuff. The stuff that a lot of people gloss over, a lot of Christians gloss over. So, some of these pastors on TV, you get them on, and they preach the prosperity gospel. If you give me a certain amount of money, you sow a seed to me, and God is going to do something in your life. Or, asking the congregation for money for a private jet. That's not what churches should be about. The way I look at it, if you, and the way God looks at it, if you're not preaching Christ at the pulpit, you shouldn't be behind it. Christ and Him crucified. We're to let other people know about it. Yeah, man, the Cross Movement albums that, you should listen to. Heaven's Mentality, definitely one. Holy Culture. Human Emergency. History. Place in His Story. Our Place in His Story. Those, I mean, all of their albums are good, but those are the highlights for me. House of Representatives, definitely. And what blows my mind so much about them is they had a whole record label. And they had different artists on there, and they were making good quality projects. They weren't just crapping products out. They weren't just, oh yeah, here's another project from us. It was always, you could tell these guys were dedicated to making a good quality product, a good quality album. That's what stuck out to me about the Cross movement. And another thing is they weren't afraid to talk about stuff that was going on in the music industry at the time. The 2000s were around the time where rap started shifting from gangster rap and and then East Coast rap. It went from East Coast rap to now everybody's living glamorous and everybody's got a Rolls Royce or a Lamborghini or something like that, or they got a bunch of money, they got millions. Look at Lil Wayne, a millionaire. I'm a young money millionaire, tougher than Nigerian hair. Everybody was talking about how much money they had, bro. And I think that was the downfall where rap started to become more of, or less of a sport and more of, somewhere to brag that somebody had, they would get famous overnight and they wouldn't be able to keep it up. Look at Soulja Boy. I mean, he keeps coming back, but nobody, I don't think anybody's ever liked, or I don't think anybody's liked anything Soulja Boy's done for a good minute. Last good song he made was back in 2006, in my opinion. But that was the downfall of rap for me. And you still had good artists out there, don't get me wrong. And even in the mainstream market, there are still good lyrical rappers out there. But I feel like rap especially started to get watered down during the late 2000s. Well, I mean, I scratched that into the early 2010s because, rap was still good then. And then everybody started wanting to use auto-tune now. And, after T-Pain did it, everybody wants to be T-Pain. And then Lil Wayne did Lollipop. Now everybody wants to do Lollipop. And I feel like since then, it's been nothing but that. I mean, there's been some lyrical rappers out there, but just that's where my mind was at the time, because I would listen to stuff with Caden all the time, and up until about like 2015, everybody was making dope rap records, man. And I think Lil Wayne was still at the top of his game around that time. And then he started just to use auto-tune way too much. I mean, he would use it, after he did Lollipop, I think he would use it on certain songs. And then I think he went all in with it on Rebirth. But the Carter 5, I'm Not a Human Being 2, or the Carter 4. Even, Carter 4, I'm Not a Human Being 2, or 1 and 2. You know, he only used auto-tune on a certain amount of songs. It wasn't every song. Now, every Lil Wayne song sounds about the same now because he's using auto-tune on every one of them. And, you know, that's where mainstream rap started to just feel more watered down than anything for me. Young Dolph was all right. I liked him. Oh gosh, what were some of the other ones? I like Lil Baby's all right. Yeah, he can get lyrical. Da Baby's good. You know, the one thing with this generation of rap, I will say that is confusing as crap is everybody's Lil something. Ever since Lil Wayne, it's Lil Uzi Vert, Lil Nas X, Lil Dirt. Just all kinds of Lils in there, man. I mean, come on, Lil B, you gotta come up with something more original. So this is where me and Shazan just really started going, underground. We started, Shazan started bumping Immortal Technique. And he was trying to get me into Immortal Technique and got me into another artist that was on his record label at the time. And then, Diabolic. And he was spitting, bro. He could spit. That man can spit. I'm telling you. He was, I had bumped Eminem my whole life, guys. Well, since about 10 years ago when I started collecting CDs. But I bumped Eminem for a long time at that point. And I didn't really realize the word, like the way he was rhyming until I heard Diabolic rhyming. And he was rhyming every sentence. Like he was rhyming. He was rhyming so many words in one sentence. And it blew my mind. And then, his album, The Disconnect, was about to come out. And the anticipation, man, I was so eager to hear that album because I just got into it, and I'm like, all right, this album's not too far away. Heck yeah. So I was dying to hear what he was gonna do. And that album's still a classic, man. All three of his albums are classics. And then when COVID hit, I started getting into Vinnie Paz. Vinnie Paz is good. He started a group in the late 90s, went by the name of Jedi Mind Tricks. And check out some of their albums, man. Jedi Mind Tricks has got their Legacy of Blood album's good. And A History of Violence, that's another good one. And their Servants in Heaven album is good too. Jedi Mind Tricks and Vinnie Paz. I started getting into him through the solo career, but I would discover Jedi Mind Tricks in a decent amount of time. Vinny Paz was good, and then R.A. the Rugged Man. Right, I got into him again right when his newest album, All My Heroes Are Dead, came out, and little story about R.A. the Rugged Man. Me and Mama we were hanging out with Chris at the bar, and I had my phone on, bumping some stuff, and I played a little bit of R.A. the Rugged Man, and there was a song that I played that Mama was like, "Hold on, what's the name of that song?" And I told her, and a few days later, I didn't think nothing of it, but a few days later, I come up there I'm swinging, and Mama's got music playing, and I'm hearing R.A. the Rugged Man. I said, "Mama," I said, you get into R.A.? Did you get into Rugged Man?" She's like, "Yeah." I realized I kind of liked him. And I said, "Mama, if you would do that with a lot of the other artists I listen to, you would have fun with it." I say it to this day. You will have fun with it. That's the whole thing about new music. If you're into a certain artist, if Shazam hadn't opened those doors back in 2014, 2015, that's when we really started hanging out. If he hadn't done that, my musical scope wouldn't be as huge as it is now. I mean, it'd probably be a little bit large, but Shazam, like I said, Shazam had got me into so many different artists, and it blew my mind back then because most of the stuff we heard was on the radio, or if Mama had a CD of it before, or she had it downloaded, or we heard it, something that Mama had heard before. And then when I went down, and started making friends, especially with Shazam, man, he's the Prodigy. I'm trying to think of some artists that he's hooked me on to. Crystal Castles. D'Angelo. He got me hooked on D'Angelo for a little bit. He's got me, Head PE. He's got me into a bunch of bands. He just blew my musical scope just wide open. So, that me and Shazam's been friends for 10 years, and he still pulls rabbits out the hat just out of nowhere. A few years ago, I was sitting at home, and I was hanging out with my buddy Dylan for the day, and he went home, and I got on the phone with Shazam, and he was playing his music, and it was Cold, Suffocate. And I couldn't get it out of my head, so I was like, "Man, what's the name of that song?" "Oh, that's Suffocate. That's Cold." And he hooked me on the Cold. Trying to think of some more recent ones. Six Lack. He made me aware of Six Lack, and then I was playing. He made me aware of Six Lack through Sid's music. Sid had a song called "Over" that featured Six Lack, and I was playing it. Caden had got me a one of them 808 speakers at the time, and I was playing some music, and I was playing that song. And Six Lack comes on. Caden's like, "Is that Six Lack? Is that Six Lack?" I'm like, "Yeah, how you know him?" "I know this, there's a song called Problem." And Shazam's hooked me onto a lot of different people, a lot of different artists, and got me even more acquainted with ones I had heard certain songs from. Drake. He was a music nerd even then. And then I realized he was making his own music. He did a string of albums in 2015. And the beats were off the chain. He was just going. And I've always tried to help Shazam out lyrically. And he always comes to me and be like, he'll send me some lyrics and be like, "What you think, man?" Because he went from he did like a lot of musicians would, but he would repetitive a lot. And I told him one day, I said, "Man, you need to kind of broaden your lyrics a little bit." And ever since then, like he would come up, he would send me a lyric, like a verse, and then if I felt like he was going in a good direction, I would just say that's good. And if I felt like maybe something could be said better, I would try to think of something that made more sense to the song, and I would send it back to him, and he'd be like, "Okay, I can work on this." And then he'd send me the next verse, and then we'd do the same thing, and we'd keep going. And back in the day, back when we were going to school, we would make albums. And I had an album. It's called 2004. It's got 14 songs on it, but it was just me making beats. And everybody was like, "Nah, you need to do something." And I was like, "Yeah, I've been trying to do like vocals. I just can't think of nothing good." I don't want to do something like that if I know it ain't gonna be good. So I would make these beats, and then Shazam would do an album cover, because he knew how to make album covers. He would do it for his album, and then this album cover was just me standing there with with my headphones on, and behind or on the right side it's got Skyboss 2004. Yeah, those were memorable times, man. And whenever he would come over to my house, we would get on the drums. I'd be on the guitar and he'd be on the drums, or vice versa. And we would sit there and make music, and we would just be screwing around on the drums or the guitar. I'd be just playing random notes, and then he'd come up with a beat. And the first time we did that, the power went out on one side of the house. So we were pretty much if we wanted to play the drums, we were playing in the dark. And then Newkirk broke my snare drum, and Dad had to go fix it. So by the day we had to go back to school, Dad had it fixed. So after church, we come and jammed for a little bit. Some pretty good sessions came out of that. I don't think I have any of them anymore, unfortunately, but I recorded some stuff, and man, we were going. We were pumped. Because it was like, heck yeah, we can finally get in the same room and be ourselves. Because, any time we were together and playing together, it was in band class, and we didn't really have enough time to doodle like that. So me and Shazam, when we went in there that first time, man, we came with ideas. We was like, oh, we're gonna do this one. This is gonna be called blah blah blah. This one was gonna be called. We were trying to have a Christian message in it, and the whole Hail Jesus. And Shazam did this weird picture back then. It was just, he meshed it together. It looked like it was homemade for sure. But it was a picture of Jesus throwing Satan into the lake of fire. Yeah. So we were doing a Christian metal band. We were doing a Christian metal band, and it stuck, and we came with the ideas, and we went at it, and then that it was for my birthday, and right at the night when that was when the power got off. We would go in there to play the drums, and it'd be dark as crap in the bedroom. And then the next day I remember taking my guitar in there because in the living room, because the living room still had power. And I plugged my guitar up, and I was gonna have Shazam play the drums, and I was in the living room on the guitar, and that was when he broke my daggone strap on the snare drum. I joke about that all the time with him. I said, next time you come over, you better not break my daggone snare drum. And he didn't the next time. And I think that was like 2 years later when he came back. And we got at it again. The drums were moved to the back porch. And I remember trying to take Shazam in the bedroom then, because I had just got a new drum set that is a Sonar Force 2005. I just got it. It's a big ass set. It's got 2 bass drums. It's got a snare. It's got 4 mounted toms, 2 floor, and a bunch of cymbals. And that whole drum set was just piled up in that bedroom, and you couldn't get around for crap. So we were trying to find something in there, and ended up couldn't find it, and we ended up knocking over half the daggone drums getting out of there. That was around the time Shazan dropped his headphones in the toilet. It was the cord, I think. Thank goodness he didn't get all of it in there, but he got, I think, the end of his cord or something. He comes out of the bathroom and he's like, Skyler, where's your mom at? Well, she's in there. Why? I think I just dropped my headphones in the toilet. Just as casual as ever. Like, no. Oh, man. He went with us, driving Buddy in the car. Man, so many. We gotta get Shazan on the podcast. I mean, we've had him on the phone with us before, but I'm not gonna lie, it would be pretty nice to actually get him in the room, because I think he would have a lot of interesting stuff to say. If I could get my words out, dagnabbit. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, there's a July 4th celebration today going on. Like 2 weeks after the 4th. Oh, because everybody's on vacation. I don't know. I never understand why they did it on a, they didn't do it on the 4th. That's just my thing. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm going to wrap this up. I hope you have enjoyed. If you like these videos, please like and subscribe and show more people. Tell them to subscribe to Skyler Jarvis Media, or we're coming after you. No. Just please like and subscribe. If you do, that means the world to us. Promote this podcast, promote this channel, because in time we're gonna be doing a lot. We're gonna be doing more than just podcasts on here. So, yeah, share the channel, share the podcast episode, or we're coming after you. This is Skyler Jarvis signing off.
Ladies and gentlemen, Skyler has left the building. Hey, bro, don't you want to say anything?